Welcome to Night Shadows. I'm Stewart Best, where the paranormal is normal, where that which you thought you knew, you didn't, and where the future can be known if you know exactly where to look.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. And Larry, are you still with us?
Yeah, is my signal okay?
So far, yeah, it breaks in and out a little bit. Before we get rolling, I wanted to read this. This just came in. This is a word they claim from the Lord. So, my children, prepare your hearts for the sad season that is upon you, for many will give up their fight to survive and take their lives. Pray much over those you love that they will not be among those who do this. As the pestilence spreads and more comes to pass, which means we're not done with this, and there's a second, maybe even a third wave coming, many will despair. I desire you would witness to those you encounter as I guide you. Time is exceedingly short, and you are all coming home very soon. Sow the last of your seeds, do the last of your good deeds. Show love and kindness to all you meet, for one day very soon you are coming here to me. So, Larry, what do you think of that one?
Wow, that's pretty sobering. That's a sobering word. Not at all what a lot of the church today promotes as the future.
Yeah. Well, Dana Coverstone talked about these prosperity people and how they were going to be basically, from what I gathered from what he said, although it's not worded exactly that way, they're going to be destroyed and silenced. And, of course, it's a fake gospel, but just about everything today is fake, so I don't know. You had a dream, and this one you wrote down on your blog, a strange, vivid dream in the downtown area of some town, and saw army invaders, which you said probably looked like Chinese or maybe Russian, or North Korean. What you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, this was a recent dream, August the 16th in the morning. I dreamed that I'd gone to town, small town, and as I was going into town, into the business district, I saw actually lines of invading troops coming up the street towards me. And they were lined up on different sides of each other. There, it was, and from what I could tell, I could recognize pretty much the race. One group of troops seemed to be Chinese military, and the other group was dressed a little different, and they were a little shorter, and they appeared to be Korean, probably North Korean. And they were coming up the street, and it reminded me, you remember that movie Red Dawn #2, the one that
yes.
The Koreans invaded that little area?
Yep.
It was similar to that in a way, but as I saw them coming towards me, I knew they were a threat, and I did what I've learned a long time ago to do, somewhat like a criminal does. Since I worked criminals for 40 years almost, I learned their ways. I opened a door to a business right to my right, just before the troops got there, and went inside the business, went straight through the business to the back and right out the back door, and I got out of town and went back into the rural district to be safe. And it was no longer safe in the cities and towns in America. They had been invaded.
Wow. Well, you're not alone in that. That's been noted a number of times before, and it is coming to pass. I don't think there's any question. We have to be invaded. Before we get rolling on anything else, Peter sent me this one. Unusual earthquake swarm in Mexico just below San Diego. 21 earthquakes of all magnitudes. Just an unusual place for a swarm of quakes. Now, there's a guy down in Mexico, and I can't remember his name, but he was told about it. Maybe a super volcano that's down in that area, right where those earthquakes were hitting, and a whole bunch of scientists had gone down there, he claimed, to examine it. Now, that was a number of years ago. But anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting, as well as Hawaii is still rocking and rolling. Anyway, where do you want to start, Larry? Let's go to New York City, and they're kind of a high alert. What is going down there?
Well, let me interject this real quick. I want to thank Michael Diego for sending me something in the mail. I did receive it,
yes.
And thank you, brother, for continually listening to me and Stewart for years. I appreciate the letter, too. And oddly enough, to go with those quakes, this is probably south of the Salton Sea quakes, which link into the San Andreas, from what I'm hearing. And not only that friend of mine in California, but also Dutch Sense is talking about a 3 to 7 day or maybe almost 10-day window that we're entering into of real bad quake activity coming up.
Okay. What about this New York thing?
Well, it's very, very interesting, and I sent you that video, but not
yes.
only that they're hiding. It came out on Lou Dobbs a while ago, and I was shocked. One of his people that was on were talking about everything has been now blocked and closed down. They said almost Manhattan's in a complete shutdown. There's not hardly any even people that they're able to find, and they don't know what's going on. I mean, it's actually a mystery.
Wow. It makes you wonder if a false flag isn't going to happen, but I'm not sure why they would vacate it. Of course, they are trying to destroy all the cities to bring America down, so I guess in some ways it doesn't. Here's another one. Stripped-down airliners being used to bring weapons into America from Italy, and probably the Vatican's involved in that somehow. What is that about? Now, that was Stephen Danoon that mentioned that.
Yeah, I saw that information. I wasn't aware of it, but I had heard a few months back that they had taken some American airliners that were out of service, parked out, I believe, around Arizona, and gutted them, and were going to use them. I didn't know what they was going to use them for, but apparently, according to him, his intel coming in indicates the CIA's using them to fly to Italy and load them up with weapons and bring them back to America. What's odd, though, and what's a concern is the fact, and I know this, because I saw some of the data on it when the Russians were flying in. Remember, Russians were flying into Italy supposedly to help with the coronavirus. What if some of those gutted planes are flying back not only weapons, but Russians?
Yeah, and we do know from the map that JFK sent over there to Geneva that Russian troops are going to be some of the ones that are policing the American people. And they were going to use foreign troops because they'd shoot any American that didn't obey immediately and would not have any trouble doing it. Folks, you're being surrounded. There's another one. Fields of human cages discovered in Carruthers, California. They got a video of it. Now, we have all seen, I think it was Jesse Ventura that right on national TV presented video evidence of these huge stacks of coffins. Well, now we're finding cages with toilets in them. And I guess they go for, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of feet. And folks, better wake up, because you might be put into a cage and sent to who knows where you would go. Probably North Korea to work in their gulags, or over to China to work on some of their projects. You certainly will not be kept in a FEMA camp that long. They've been planning this thing out for a long, long time. These people are the most evil, hell-bound sinners the world's ever seen. And they mean business, and they mean to do this to you. Here's what it says: in what can only be considered a completely communistic, diabolical plan to enslave the American people, a vast field containing what appears to be human cages outfitted with toilets discovered in a California town of Carruthers. Number of rows and tiers of cells can be seen along with hundreds of mobile, truck-outfitted, human-holding tanks. So there you go. Nobody wants to believe this stuff, but it's there. Been there like the FEMA camps for years upon years, and everybody just mocks it. Well, your mocking is very soon going to come to a close. Instead of mocking, you will have tears in your eyes as you're locked in, and you're never going to see your families again, never see your children again, because you would not do anything when you had a chance to do it. So you only have yourselves to blame for this. So you can't be blaming anybody else. And anyway, what else you got, Larry, before we close? We only got a couple of minutes. I only did 15.
Okay, I was just going to mention about what you're talking about. Since I'm a conspiracy nut, James Rossoni and Miranda Watson wrote an incredible series of books in a World War III trilogy. And James was part of military intelligence, and in one of those books, it's kind of like a Tom Clancy novel. He embedded the fact that when China was able to take over the West Coast, they actually filled cages with American men to go to work camps in China. They loaded them with young women to be sent back to the victorious Chinese leadership as sex slaves, and they loaded them on Chinese cargo ships and shipped them back to China. Now, I can't say that's what's happening, but I read a book.
Well, seems like it is. They found them, and I'm sure they're elsewhere, too. And the American people have just sat back. They've allowed all this to happen. And the Bible does say you will wish for your children, but you will never see them again. And this is just punishment. Anyway, here's one more thing before we close. Bill Gates doesn't rule out that coronavirus vaccine may become mandatory. They're pounding that drum. And it's just amazing how they're, and here's another one, that communist Chinese troops have flooded into Vancouver to protect their Chinese-owned interests in Canada, starting with the Vancouver area, and to ensure children will be taking the vaccines in Vancouver. Well, of course, probably not that, probably just to round them up and ship them off. These people have no mercy. They never have had, by the way. And you have no idea how diabolical and how evil what is coming upon America for one reason. You rejected Jesus Christ. Anyway, well, any last word you got there, Larry? Not fun, but truthful.
Well, we can get into it maybe more Wednesday, but there was a second solar flare that came off the sun that I just noticed on Space Weather Alerts that also brought off a CME with it, and it should have a glancing blow or impact Earth on, I think, the 20th.
Yep, folks, so if you're starting to feel maybe a little mental fatigue or you just don't feel right, most likely it is the sun that's doing it. There's all kinds of this stuff going on. And the frequency, the Schumann resonance, so far has been relatively stable, but it's spiking here and there. And we've talked about frequencies before. But anyway, hopefully we'll see you all on Wednesday evening. Take care. Heads up. A lot going on. Good night, everyone. Take care.